Hi, singing friends. Welcome back to my channel. It's Mickey here, your friendly neighborhood singing coach, and hopefully just friend in general. So I guess this is my second Patreon episode, and I was trying to think of what I could offer you guys. Sorry, the dog is trying to steal this bunny that's in here. I was trying to think of what I could offer you guys as like an extra bonus. And Michael Germon, one of my patrons, had a good idea, which I really liked. He said, why don't you do like a reaction to a book or a movie? And so I've chosen to react to the Charlie Sheen autobiography. It's called The Book of Sheen. And the reason that I have it is, sorry, I'm just like trying to get the stuffed animal away from Falcor. She's going to destroy it. She thinks everything is hers. The other day when my friend Tilo was in town from New Mexico, he invited me to a book signing for the autobiography. And it was just like a fun, kooky thing to do. We went to, I think it's called like Bookends in Ridgewood. And so I was like, yeah, okay, that sounds fun. So we went and I got my picture taken with him, which I'll put in, and it was like 2 seconds. And then I got a signed copy of the book, which was really nice. And I read it because, you know, why not? And I don't think I'm like the correct demographic necessarily for this book. Oh, by the way, at the end of this, I will be doing a giveaway of the book. So if you are a big Charlie Sheen fan, I have an autographed copy to give away. And I want it to go to somebody who is like a big fan, because to tell you the truth, I'm not like the hugest Charlie Sheen fan, and it's nothing against him as an artist. I just don't really watch that much TV and film. I have seen some of his movies kind of like incidentally, you know, like I've seen The Breakfast Club and I've seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off and things like that where he like had cameos, you know, but I don't really know a great portion of his oeuvre. You know, I know he's been in a lot of really famous movies and made like really great cinematic contributions, but I haven't really seen them, and I haven't really seen his television work. I haven't seen like 2.5 Men or Anger Management or any of the other shows that he's been in, so I can't really speak to his work. But I can recognize obviously that he is a legend, and he obviously wouldn't have been able to get where he got and sustain that level of fame without an enormous amount of talent. You know, nepotism and all of that aside, I think you can get your foot in the door by being connected to people, but in order to sustain that kind of career over decades and be a legend like he is, you need to have a certain amount of talent to back that up. So and things that I liked about the book off the bat are that I think that it's written in a style that sounds like it could be authentic to his voice. And the chapters are very short and it's very engaging. So it's kind of like these stories of like fun debauchery that you would expect from someone like him. So it's a very entertaining book. And I was able to read it very quickly. Obviously learned a lot about his life. And you never know how much the person actually wrote or how much is ghostwritten or whatever. That's kind of par for the course, but I thought it was very well written. So now on to the content of the book. I think ultimately where I come down with this is what I had known about Charlie Sheen before reading this book was kind of like tabloid stuff, you know, like I obviously was like aware of him from like TMZ and Perez Hilton and whatever, when he was in his like Denise Richards very public divorce, and like then you heard about him like being diagnosed with HIV and like all of the partying with like prostitutes and things. So that's kind of what I knew of him, you know, so I already kind of had this idea of him as this like Hollywood bad boy who really was almost like a pop culture meme or joke, you know, and was famed more for his excesses than for anything else. And I remember his firing from Two and a Half Men. And it seemed like he was like always in and out of rehabs and things. So that's what I knew about him going into this book, and leaving this book, that's kind of still what I know about him. I mean, the whole thing really reads like tales that you would tell people in a bar, or like your frat brothers or something. Like, it's just excess after excess. And, you know, it starts with him. It seems like his dad, Martin Sheen, really made a name for himself and came from nothing and worked really hard. And then Charlie Sheen was able to kind of like ride on his coattails, you know, and he had this kind of like extraordinary childhood where he was almost like an army brat, because he was going around from country to country, film set to film set with his dad. And he was just around all of these incredibly famous people. Like, there's one story of him playing ping pong with O.J. Simpson. And O.J. Simpson was like letting him win the entire time because he was using his non-dominant hands. And then at the last second, he switched and he like defeated this 10-year-old kid. And so Charlie Sheen thought he was kind of an a-hole right from the get-go. But that was kind of the people that he was around. You know, he was like... he knew like Uma Thurman as a kid, and it was like, you know, when he was in school, he was surrounded by all these like famous people's kids, and like everywhere he was going, he was kind of like rubbing elbows with like Hollywood royalty. And then you know, it seemed like his dad maybe like lost the plot a little bit while he was filming. I think it was like Apocalypse Now or something. And so who knows like what his childhood was really like and how much stability there was, you know, and he didn't really get like a consistent education. I think he dropped out of high school. And so when he decided to go into Hollywood, I mean, his brother, Emilio Estevez, changed his name so that he wouldn't be associated with the father, Martin Sheen, right? So he didn't have that like nepotism cloud hanging over him. He wanted to make it on his own merit and under his own name. Hold on, I think Falcor's eating something. Falcor, please stop taking everything that's not yours. You can't keep eating everything. You have a million dolls. Go eat something that's yours. Sorry, she's almost 9 months and she's like super TV and destructive. So I keep on finding these stuffed animals from my kids, half chewed up with like their eyes missing, and it looks like a horror show, and then they're like hysterical. So it's a constant battle. But anyways, as I was saying, Emilio Estevez went out of his way to make a name for himself on his own merit, whereas Charlie Sheen kind of did the opposite. You know, like he wanted to be associated with the dad and wanted to use that. Falcor, drop. She just took it again. That's not yours. Excuse me, lady. You have a million toys. Where are your toys? Hold on one sec. Let me just give her something to gnaw on. Sorry, she's exactly like a child. It's like, if it's hers, she doesn't want it. If it's somebody else's and she's not supposed to have it, then she wants to destroy it. So yeah, so in the beginning of his career, it was like he would get into a room or get job offers sight unseen based on his name alone, you know? And so he really like got a leg up, obviously, from this like legacy, you know? And then he talks about all of these like very early excesses. So he like lost his virginity to a prostitute in Las Vegas, and he like stole his dad's credit card. And then like when he was on a film set, he learned about marijuana and he became very curious, and that really was like a gateway drug for him. And throughout the story, he tries like every drug in the universe, you know? It's like to the point where he's like not only smoking crack, he's like injecting cocaine. He's like just taking any substance that's available, no matter like, to hell with the consequences, doesn't think about the health consequences, doesn't think about any of the consequences, and just does them, you know, like everything just to an excess, you know? And the thing that bothered me about it is there's no like real bottoming out, you know? Like, it's like the depths he reaches are like limitless, you know? And there's no real moment of like repentance or like regret or remorse. the last like decade of his life, like he talks about when he got sober, he's been sober for 8 years. That is like the last 5 pages of the book. You know what I mean? The rest of the book is all just like regaling you with these tales of like the most like gluttonous debauchery, hedonistic, just like amoral excesses that you could possibly imagine. You know, like he was like involved with Heidi Fleiss, the madam, and like he was seeing all of these prostitutes and using all of these drugs. And he talks about how he checked into this rehab and they like searched through his bag and they found a hand of a real doll, this like sex doll that he had 2 of. And he's like, haha, I had them throw it in the garbage because I didn't have Vaseline. So I wasn't gonna like use the hand for anything. You know what I mean? Like, and everything is like, he seems to have no awareness of how like gross it is. You know, it's like, just another Tuesday for him in the retelling. Like none of it is even like, wow, this was really like horrible, you know? And not to like, you know, and then he talks about like how he goes to AA, not voluntarily. He goes like to all these rehabs kicking and screaming, and like the day before he's supposed to check in, he'll go on this like bender and like run away, or he'll escape from the rehab, you know, and then they have to track him down and drag him back. And the whole time he's already planning on like breaking out and doing drugs again. And at one place, his like roommate smuggles in crack for them to smoke and he gets caught. And then he tries to bribe the head of the rehab with $20,000 so that they won't tell the courts, because at this point it's like he's gotten so many chances that they're going to send him to jail if they catch him violating the terms of his whatever, you know? So, and they don't accept the bribe, but they don't tell the police either. So he gets away with it. And that's like what just keeps happening over and over again. He just keeps failing up, you know? And he talks about like how he didn't believe in the religious aspects of AA, and so he couldn't really like fully buy into it. And you don't have to believe in God, you know, like whatever, like, but you should have a sense of morality. And like it seems like he has no concept that anything that he's done is wrong. And there's never this moment where he's like, wow, I really messed up and I've caused all of this like chaos to all of these other people in my wake, you know, like he talks about his 2 divorces and how he wasn't there for his kids until very recently, you know, and like, it's almost like a footnote to his glory days stories that he's like so proud to tell you know, the legend of like the machine, you know, that's his nickname for himself. And so there are no lessons learned because as I said, he keeps failing up, you know, it's like he does things that, and for anybody else, it would be like a career-ending scandal, you know, where he just phones in a job and he's late every single day and he barely knows his lines. And it's clear that he's like, you know, totally doped up and non-functional. And he still gets like incredible salary payouts for all of these gigs. People just keep offering him bigger projects and more money, and like no matter what he does, nobody says that's it, you're toxic, we're not going to work with you, you know, over and over and over again. So it's like if you never really have to face the consequences of your actions, how are you ever going to evolve or change? And ultimately that's what I came to at the end of this book, is that it doesn't really seem like he ever evolved. And now he's been sober for 8 years, but it took him like doing drugs and alcohol to the point where he was like spitting up blood and like got delirium tremens and all of these crazy things. And people kept trying to save him and he kept on like trying to actively kill himself and somehow not dying, you know? So it comes across as like at the end that he's like probably the luckiest human being in the world, you know? And that like no real like self-reflection was had at the end of the day. And I think one of the things that surprised me when I went to the book signing was the demographic of people there. It was all white, first of all. I did not see a single person of color, but fine, whatever, you know, but there were like all ages, like people brought their children, there were old people, there were young people, you know. So within like white people, there were all shapes and sizes and ages and whatever. And for me, I'm like, you're treating this guy like he embodies family values, you know? And I guess when you're like on a sitcom that's so famous for so long, you are in everybody's homes, and there is this like veneer of, you know, like PG-13 clean comedy type of thing. Like, yes, he's a little bit edgy, but still it's like he's on one of the biggest shows in the world and he's being paid $1 million an episode. So obviously he's like has some family values or whatever. And so people feel comfortable bringing their children to like worship him. You know what I mean? And like, who knows, like the people that are coming to see him, if they're doing it kind of like ironically, or if they like really admire this like rock and roll lifestyle and like, to hell with everyone else, kind of burn it to the ground, live for today, have the best story, live fast, die young, you know? And I think that he kind of like epitomizes that. So maybe people like really look up to that and envy that in some way. Or yeah, or if it's like, just if it's genuine and they really look up to him as an artist, which obviously has made these great contributions, or if there is some like irony there, but I don't exactly get it, you know? But anyways, I know I'm like poo-pooing him a lot. And I think I will say that I'm glad that he's sober, and I'm glad that he has good relationships with his exes, or tolerable relationships. And it seems like he's raising his kids, you know, to a better degree now than ever. And of course, I think everybody deserves to have a chance at redemption, you know? But I think when you have so many second chances and you kind of squander all of them, and you don't really have any like searching moral inventory at the end of all of it, that really takes away from my ability to like respect and enjoy somebody. And that's not to say that I won't watch his movies and, you know, I might think he's a wonderful artist after I do. And I do think that people should be able to separate the art from the person for the most part. I think throughout history, there have been a lot of great artists who are terrible people. But yeah, that's where I came down on this book. And I'm sorry if that was a little bit rambly and incoherent. It's just, there's a lot going on here. But here's the book. I took the dust jacket off. I'll put it back on. Ah! Falcor, stop. And it's got some really nice pictures in here. He was quite handsome when he was younger. So, you know, there's some like really, really cute pictures and things. And the stories are funny and interesting and exciting for sure. And yeah, it's signed by him. So I would love for this to go to somebody who is a really big fan of him. So if you are, please write a comment below. Or you know what, better yet, email me at, I'll put my email below this video in the description box, but it's michal.tauber@gmail.com. Tell me like one line about why you want the book and give me your mailing address, and I'll choose somebody to send it to. Okay, so I enjoyed it. Even though I said a lot of negative things, I did enjoy it as a read, you know, and I'm sure he would look at my life and say, what a boring person, you know, like I lived like an amazing life and I'm a legend and I don't regret a second of it. And that's cool. I think to each their own, and everybody should have their own journey. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about the Book of Sheen. And let me know if you've read it and what you think. And also if I were to watch like a movie of his, what's like the number one movie that you would recommend? What's his best performance? All right. That's all. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys here next time. Until then, take care, and of course, happy singing. Bye.